mean, that's something that is just so imperative for you that you still need the 50 hours in your experience.
Yeah, it's meant to go in tandem with the practicum. We always have with our practicum some assignments. What Kenetha has done is decided to make it less of just assignment work for you guys, but something that will help you build some meaningful kinds of tools to be able to move forward. So it won't be the intense level of coursework and attendance that you have for a 3-credit-hour course, but it will be something that will help you do very well in that practicum situation. And so that's
Right.
a new innovation that we're taking on, and certainly, appreciate that Kenetha's bringing that forward. So.
Well, and the micro teaching also takes into consideration the Ed TPA pieces as well. So that will be a part of your student teaching. Lesson planning, yeah, you're going to have to do that for any of the classes and for the observations. So once you understand what you're supposed to be doing and how you do that, then it just melds together so much easier. I wish someone had done that when I went through the program, instead of just trying to struggle through or catch somebody to say, hey, I've got this 14-page lesson plan document. What am I supposed to do with that? So that's why we're helping.
Thank you, Kenetha. Kyle, did you have a question?
Yeah, in regards to like the grade bands, like with practicums and student teaching, if there's issues with availability, can the grade band thing, can that be waived, or is that something you want us to stay in? Meaning, like, I'm in a school I coach at, so they're probably more likely to work with me with other schools who don't know you,
Exactly.
So could not sticking to the grade band requirements we have, or not switching, like if it comes down to I can't get another school but Goshen will pick me up, are you able to stay at the same school, or just in general things about that?
I think that would be okay, because I'm familiar with the Goshen schools, and you guys, it's not like you're in the same building. It's just a little campus where it has different principals and different, even different teaching techniques and teaching styles. But those 3 bands for the special education, once you get your license and it says K-12, then we want to make sure that you've had some experience in that band all across, if we can do that. So with you, I think you'll be fine within the Goshen world, because it's not the same person, it's not the same grade band, but I think you'll be okay. This time I think you're doing high school first, aren't you?
Middle school.
Middle school. Yeah, you're student teaching in high school. So you do middle school, and then you're going to do the lower grades, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah, so right now I'm set up at Goshen the first 7 weeks and West Claremont the next 7. So my point is if West Claremont kind of falls through, can I just try to get back into Goshen for the second band?
I think I don't see why that should be a problem, because it's a whole different ball game.
Well,
grade level.
So I will add in here. So our goal when we give you these field practicum and student teaching is to put you in a variety of settings. So we might want you in a public or a private, or we want you in a rural, a small town, and an urban. So you've got Goshen, which is more of a rural, and then you'll have West Claremont, which is more of a suburban, right? So the goal is so that when you put out your resume, whoever looks at your resume can see you've been in a variety of schools, variety of situations. That makes you marketable. If you're only in one district the entire time, that looks like you're just kind of like, you're only prepared for one kind of setting, like a rural setting. Now, that being said, with times as they are, with COVID, that presents a different challenge for us, right? Because then you're being limited into different districts that may not even want you in there. So what do, right? So I think we want to make determinations that are not going to hurt you, but are going to help you. But we want to make sure that you're well-rounded when you're prepared, right? So let's just see how Goshen plays out, and we'll see after that what happens. I mean, if we're all remote, right? So we'll have to look at that, but yeah.
And I agree. I agree. I was just wondering, just in case, say, West Claremont decides to shut down, I'd rather be in person than online.
Right.
Goshen's not shut down, and West Claremont does shut down. type thing, type situations.
But that being said, the overarching thing would be that you have the 3 licensure bands within special education, right? You've got to have that by law. So that's the one thing we have to make sure we attend to, because we never want what the good state can giveth, the good state can taketh away. So if they find out that you really didn't have practice in those 3 bands, then they can yank your license independent of us, right? Because they issue it, they can take it. So we want to make sure that you're well prepared and that you're prepared the right way.
Just one more thing on the Goshen piece is I've dealt with the elementary and I've dealt with the middle school just because I do some advocacy work out there. And if I didn't know that they were in the same district, I would not know they were in the same district. They are run that differently from one another. So, but if you have to go to West Claremont, fine. You just kick Matt Goddess out of that coaching job there. You just move right in. It'll work.
And at the end of the day, our goal is to be able to hold as much as we can to the standards that we know work in teacher preparation, right? But we know that these times call for grace. These times call for looking at things and trying to be problem solvers. We are not in the space of wanting to block anyone from getting where they want to go because of something that is outside of their control, right? So know that we're going to be committed to you guys doing this as long as you want to. I mean, you still have the option to say, I think I'm going to wait a year to do student teaching. But barring that, we are here to make sure that you can follow your program, that you can have all the objectives met, and that you can go out there and teach and do your good work. So just know that. But it's just going to take a lot of communication, a lot of intentionality, and keep reaching out. Danielle, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I have a question. So the 50 hours for student teaching, is that 50 in both lessons, both math and science for me?
So student teaching is 15 weeks.
Oh, that's not 50 hours. Okay.
Yeah, practicum is hours. Student teaching is weeks.
15.
So who are those of us who are in practicum, when you move to student teaching, it will be 15 weeks.
Okay, and then how does Ed TPA look like it's folding out? Is that going to be online? Like if we're teaching online, how would we record ourselves in the classroom kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, that is to be determined still. We're trying to figure out in my mind, I'm trying to figure out what variation can we do where we can still develop that reflective portfolio
Mm-hmm.
and it still means something, right? So we may alter some of the requirements of those, or maybe just focus on a few of the rubrics instead of all 15 of them. I think there are ways around it where we can still see our students shine through that portfolio, but at the same time, some things that would work because it's just inherent. You have to work with kids to make this piece of the rubric work.
Right.
Maybe it's just not going to be able to work the same way. And if we can get it to work, how does it work virtually versus, so trust me, there's a lot more legwork to do on that kind of thing, but we'll make sure you have that piece as well. That's a good question though.
And I do want to bring up, and then I'll get to Mike. It looks like he has a question, that the things that could be different in these practicums and student teaching are that most of our university supervisors are retired educators who may not feel comfortable going into the field to observe you. So we may be setting you up for things like video observation, where you videotape your lesson, and then your your university supervisor can view that, and then have a conference with you. There's some benefits actually to the videotape, and that we can pause the teaching and look at it and discuss it, right? So there could be some potential benefits there. We also might ease our requirements on your mentor teachers depending on the stress they're under, because the DICE forms, if you haven't experienced them yet, are pretty intense, and mentor teachers have a lot on their plate now. So we're going to be thinking about those mentor teachers and university supervisors. We still want you to get the feedback. There's just some things that might look a little different in order for you to get the meaningful feedback, and also to make sure that our mentor teachers are not stressed out amongst everything else that they're already taking on. So we want to be thoughtful about that. So Mike.
This virtual piece, personally, And I mean, no one has, told me this, but personally, I don't think the virtual piece is ever really going to go away now. I think it's just going to be part of what our new look at education is. That doesn't mean we'll have it to the same degree that we have it now, but I think, for children that are homebound or maybe in the hospital, that kind of thing, instead of having to have that special set of teachers that do that, then the kids can Zoom and they can be part of the classroom. And I mean, there's just so much more. Plus your experience in a whole new genre and a whole new piece of education. This just makes your offering more enriched. So I think it's a good idea, even if you never use it again, at least you can say, I've been there, I did that. So.
Thank you, Kaneetha.
Oh, you're absolutely right. No more snow days.
Oh, shoot. And you know what? I have a snow dance that I was going to teach everybody. You put your pajamas on backwards, flush the toilet 3 times. I mean, and it was pretty successful, really.
I think Mike had a question.
Yeah, Mike, do you have a question?
Well, it was kind of along the lines of what Kaneetha had just said. Do you feel like, I feel like in a lot of times during difficult times, there is a silver lining, meaning, do you think the Mount is looking at this experience and saying, maybe we could have an addition to the education program for graduating classes in the future that could have a experience with virtual teaching, with being able to handle obstacles like this? So if there does seem to be a bump in the road or something hits a snag, that students in the future from the program will be able to say, oh, absolutely, I know how to do this and I know how to do X, Y, and Z. Do you feel like that might be something that the school may look at as far as a possibility to be added in at some point?
It's interesting you asked that because we've been reviewing, there's a program called EduBadge out there that allows educators to earn badges in different types of educational technology. And our faculty used it over the summer, and we're considering ways of making sure that our our students who are in field work can access that program as part of their learning, so that they can increase their knowledge of the different technologies that might be most appropriate in their settings or with their career goals. And there's so many badges on there that I don't think anybody could ever exhaust them all, but we've practiced things like Screencastify and oh gosh, now I'm going to turn to my friends again to help me. Megan, what were the other ones?
Padlet and Flipgrid and lots of different Chrome extensions for like speech to text. Super cool stuff. Yeah, lots of them.
So that's a great question, Mike. And certainly I think it's going to greatly, it's going to impact all of us anyway. But maybe in a really structured way. Mike Bendis has long been he's held the island of technology by himself, and I can't imagine how he feels so often when we're always going, Mike, so maybe there's a few less mics for us to cry out in the future, and we've all had to